Hey, it is a pleasure to have my buddy Edward Halterman on the show this morning. I'm down here in Rosarita Beach, Edward, enjoying just a wonderful time. There's Barred Perch here in the surf. I'm looking at the water right now in the Rosarita Beach Hotel. Man, you got to come down here someday with us. Edward, welcome to the show.
What about the Chiquita perch?
Oh, hey, I don't know. I'm a married guy, so you'll have to talk to somebody else about that.
Okay.
I'm sure you can find that. Hey, listen. You have had some spectacular fishing up there, and it really has been good at times, hasn't it? Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's been really awesome, man. The last couple trips ago when I went down, it was just incredible, man. I actually had a few people fishing on either side of me, and it was really funny because one of my major rules that I have kind of come into play is if you're in the water, then you're too close. It's like a lot of these guys are actually, they got their waders on and they think it's all cool and they're going into the water. But the problem is the trough where most of the fish are generally is about, 5 to 10 yards off the beach. So if you're actually standing in the water, then you're almost on top of the trough and the fish will see you and they're gone. So, you'll occasionally get one or two fish that'll be okay with that, but for the most part, I mean, if you guys have ever seen fishing in clear water or whatever and you walk up to it, they're gone, So anyway, the first fish I got was actually the smallest one. It was about a half a pound. And I kept getting like these little bites, and I was like, well, what the heck, are these all going to be small fish? And then that was the only one. I got one that was a half a pound, and the rest of them were just all huge. I couldn't believe the size of these things, man. I think I ended up with like 27, released them, most of them, kept a few for the pan and all that. But, I had one that was my biggest one that was 3.1 pounds, and then a few minutes after that, I got 3.0. I mean, back to back basically, and then the biggest bummer for me was I dumped a really big one that I kind of got a quick look at that flashed in the surf, and I'm guessing it was about 3.5 pounds. I mean, it was just a big beast, man. And my mistake was, and lesson learned, I just pulled too darn hard. So,
man, that sounds awesome. And for everybody who's listening, and you haven't been following Edward's fishing the Santa Monica Bay, the El Segundo area. He's had great success there. And I want to go back to what you said about not going into the water, Edward, because you've had actually anglers scoff at that and not believe you, and then you watch them, they're not catching, and you are, correct?
Yeah, and the funny thing was there was one guy down there, the last trip in particular, that was kind of running smack at me, and he says, oh, yeah, I'm catching these big 4-pound perch down here, and you can fish your sidewinders, but I'll outfish you anytime. And I was like, and I don't even know this guy, and he's like telling me this stuff, and I was just like, okay, that's cool. And so anyway, he was fishing, one of the guys fishing next to me, and he was going in the water, and I just kept shaking my head. So what I did was I didn't say anything like to the guy, but every fish I would catch, I would hold up my fingers. So, first there was one, then there was two, then there was three. And by the time I got to 20, it was pretty funny because I had to put the rod between my legs, to show two hands. And that whole time he hadn't caught a single fish.
You not only do not go into the water, you actually crouch down, don't you?
Yeah, and it was funny because this one guy that basically taught me how to do most of this, Ron Schmidt, he tells me that he even lays on the beach. And I didn't really want to do that because I don't like to get sand like in a million places. But I took it to heart. He told me, he goes flat out, he goes, most of these fish are right in the trough. And he goes, look at the trough when you go down there, how close it is. If you're in the water, I mean, if you're actually physically in the water, then you're basically a few yards from the trough. And and like he said, there's just no way they don't see you. If they can see a little dinky, sand crab or sidewinder crab flipping around in the surf, you think they're not going to see Darth Vader? I mean, that's probably what you look like to them, a big dark shadow, so, so I took that to heart, and I think that definitely raises the catch level. It's a really important point that a lot of guys miss that, and like I said, I've seen it so many times since I've been down there just doing that those guys just aren't catching the same amount of fish, so... anyway, that's an important point in my head. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but from my experience, from what I've seen, it's the truth. So.
And then you do something else that now is counterintuitive to me, but I talked to Pete Wilkowski from Just Fishing by Peach, and he said you're right on this. But the thinking out there about surf fishing is light line, 4-pound, 6-pound, 8-pound test. You're pushing it, especially if you're shooting for Corvina, but. You're fishing with 25-pound tests, having great success, and Pete Wilkowski told me not a problem. You're right on that too.
Yeah, it's just I kind of I just been using that like I said before. I got that left over from my sea bass trips because I figured out even with the sea bass that they could care less. So I moved my line from like 25 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 60, and now I fish them 60 to 80. They don't care. So anyway, I got 25 left over. Figured, heck, I got to use it for something. So I just started tying off leaders, man. and they could care less. I mean the lighter line. If you really want to challenge yourself more and fish that, it's a cool thing to do. It's fun. But for me, like I say, it's challenge enough just to get these fish to go, and I'm trying to get the big one. That's my next thing I want to get. Hopefully, I'll get back to that 3.5 and pull that in, and then I can start working towards 4. Because judging by the contents inside of these fish, they're nowhere near being done. I mean, these things are going to go probably till the end of March. So it's there's a real chance that somebody's going to catch something that's going to push that record. I've even talked to guys that are fishing Torrance and Redondo, and they're kind of catching the same stuff. I mean, they're catching really big size in those two areas as well. So I just ran into a couple guys over the weekend and was kind of talking them up. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun to get these big fish down here rather than going up to Oxnard and Ventura and all that good stuff, because I've done that, and it's a long drive.
Yeah, and the record you're referring to is 4.2 pounds by Fred Oakley, and that would be something to see you break that. Now, the last time we talked to you also, you were starting to see halibut, and you were talking about a new approach and a new game plan to take those. Are you seeing them, and what is the game plan?
Yeah, I've still been seeing them. My plan was to get the smelt and go down and take them live on the beach and start hooking halibut left and right, primarily around the jetties. They really like that because that holds the bait concentrations. But the irony was when I went to get my usual smelt spots, there wasn't any. So I was like, what the heck is going on? But then I talked to some friends, and there's some up in Pedro off the pier. So at some point I'm going to do that. I'm going to take probably the next 7 days off of fishing, even though that's the Antichrist, because the weather's coming in again, and it's going to rain like crazy tomorrow. So I'm going to let, I had noticed last time that the fish really didn't come around till like day 4 after the storm. So I was catching them the whole time, but they really didn't turn on until the water got to where it was clearer, but still just a little murky, and usually after the rain, with all the runoff going down there, it gets real dirty water. So anyway, yeah, that's definitely going to be on my list, and I'm thinking next week is going to be halibut time. I'm just going to have to roll up to San Pedro to make the bait. Maybe even Redondo. I'll have to call Larry down there and see if there's anything around those piers. But yeah, there's definitely been those. I've still been seeing some Corvinas. I didn't see as many of these last couple times as I did about a week ago, but I'm sure they're there. The water's it's harder to see them now. But the halibut, I tell you, I've been seeing all kinds of boils around when the bait gets pushed up, and I know that's what that is. So unless it's stripers, but I would probably see a more volume of those around, and I haven't seen those around for probably a month or so. So.
Excellent stuff. Well, man, it sounds like fun. It looks like you're right. We're going to have a little bit of time off this bite because of this weather, but you have been doing great tips. I love all the stuff that you bring to this. I mean, you don't spare anything. Next thing, I think you will be laying down in the surf. Who knows? We might catch you doing that. Somebody might dial 911 if they see you, though.
Well, I got this new inflatable pillow that I'm carrying with me now, so it should be pretty cool.
Excellent, man. I love it. Hey, Edward Halterman, everybody, doing his great work as always, and it's always a pleasure to have him on the show. Edward, thanks for joining us live from Rosarita Beach. I'm here live from El Segundo. You're up there. Hope you're having a great afternoon, and good fishing to you.
Much love, my brother. Thanks, man. Take care.
Edward Halterman, you think he's kidding about that inflatable pillow. He's not. I mean, this guy will go to any lengths to catch more and more surf fish, and I love his reports. He's adding to the sport, coming up with some new and innovative techniques, and take them or leave them, but at least they're working for him. And we saw it with our own eyes when we went down there and watched him do his thing. Hey, my buddy